y'all. We are live. Yo, sorry to jump right into the show, but yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Devin and Hanz. And I think we'll be joined by Max. I think he's finishing up some stuff. But how have y'all been?
Been pretty good, kind of.
Kind of. Oh, okay.
Kind of.
Yep. Anything you want to, relate to the topic, or is it like IRL stuff?
Oh, IRL stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. Same. Like I haven't really been in like a streamy kind of mood, but we've had so much like content talking about having fun talking about this content we've been watching on other people's shows, and I haven't really gotten to dive into it since we last talked about Rings of Power last week. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to get to it. I'm gonna play my jazzy music, but at a much lower volume so we can actually hear each other. So let's see. Hans, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Same thing, good with just some, IRL stuff, the usual.
I feel it. Thank you so much for jumping on right after you got off of work. I'm glad everyone could join us. Max, are you there?
Yeah.
Yay! Awesome.
There's the man.
Yay!
I have been listening to the audiobooks of Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend. They're on YouTube. Highly recommend listening to them. They're great, actually. Like, I find myself like just smiling at the story as it's told in a dramatized version.
Yeah, like I wanted to get into the topics for the shows that we've been watching, and then kind of frame it in terms of like how are we feeling with like having to follow like several shows a week in order to kind of like kind of keep up with the expectation of being able to talk about it with one another. I know y'all don't put that pressure on me specifically. I just kind of like have that pressure put on myself. So I don't know. Does anyone else feel that way, or is it just me?
I love it because I love movie talk. Like, it makes it more exciting for me. I probably wouldn't be watching as much if I didn't do movie talk.
That's fair. How about you, Devin?
I mean, there's just a lot going on right now. Like, it's when you have a lot of other stuff, happening IRL. It makes it tough to like find time to be like, okay, they dropped 3 episodes of Andor, and I've got a new Rings of Power. I've got a new House of the Dragon. I'm still trying to churn my way through. Not to make it sound like it's a bad experience, but trying to get through the rest of Cobra Kai season 5. Like there's a lot of stuff happening right now. And She-Hulk on top of that too. So it's pretty intense.
Yeah, and fourth, I totally appreciate your honesty as always. Too many shows, nothing really stellar. I mean, yeah, like for me, I won't say that my personal taste has to like match anyone else's. I've pretty much, enjoyed almost every, bit of content that we've gotten from this year so far. Probably some like I guess like not as strong as I would have liked conclusions for shows that have come out this year. I would argue are like, Moon Knight, for example. I was a big, fan of that show coming out, and I was always holding out hope every week that it would get better and better. So, yeah, I was a little underwhelmed with how that one panned out. But other than that, most of the content I've enjoyed this year has been pretty solid. I don't know if you mean stellar by like 10 out of 10s, but I've definitely seen some like 8s and 9s in there for sure. Max, how about you?
I think some of the shows could have been a little bit better. Overall, I think the quality's pretty above average. Like, don't listen to the internet. Nothing's a dumpster fire. I do like the episode each week model. Yeah, when they do 3 episodes at once, that was kind of rough. But I really enjoyed the Andor premiere though. And did House of Dragons debut with 2, and then Rings of Power debut with 2 as well, right?
Yes, yeah. I wanted to throw in the bangers for sure that we are definitely going to get into. I just wanted to check in with everyone, see how they're feeling about just like the general like flow of content that we're getting this week, and if there's anything like outside of like these shows that you also want to cover too. If we have time, we'll jump into it. But yeah, Hans, have you been following? I know you haven't had a chance to start not Rings of Power, House of the Dragon yet, right?
Right, and that is because of the amount of shows there are. Right now I'm watching Rings of Power, watching The Boys finally, and Andor. and I'm kind of keeping it at that. I got my sci-fi fix, my gritty superhero fix, and fantasy, and everything else I'll just end up. I'll wait, but it's a lot if you want to stay caught up on everything. I agree. It almost feels like there's too much.
Yeah, Fourth is calling out a lot of different shows that like I have not even thought about or contemplated starting, just because of a lot of like the mainstays that I know are going to get talked about by friends that I want to, keep up and talk about with y'all as well, because I want to match that enthusiasm. And I haven't regretted many of the shows that y'all have, been promoting and stuff. So I'm stoked on that. But yeah, we can definitely get into some thoughts on Andor. I did pull up some clips that we can have while we're gabbing about the show. So Devin, if you want to kick us off on your thoughts on Andor so far.
Okay, so they dropped the 3 episodes, and when they announced that, I was like, that's kind of a heavy lift. I wonder why they're doing 3. I don't even know how many episodes total is in the season. Do you guys know? Is it a 6 or an 8?
I thought it was 12.
Is it
Maybe
12?
I'm wrong though.
Okay, well, I guess
maybe I'm thinking of a different show, but I want to say 12.
Well, once I started, and here's the thing, like, I forgot that Andor was dropping, and I was reminded by seeing Enosh's tweets, and Enosh was just trashing it. Like, he just said it was boring and was like just really hating on it. And I was like, what? Like, I don't know what this is all about. I went into it like getting ready to like get into a fight with Enosh over it. But by the time that I finished watching it, I was like, okay, I get it. I understand what he's talking about. Like, I don't think it's bad, but it's definitely paced not like a TV show. And the first 2 episodes makes that abundantly clear. Like, they end really awkwardly. And because like you're investing so much time watching these, and then all of a sudden there's like an abrupt ending and credits, and it just kind of left me with kind of a weird feeling. Like, this doesn't feel like TV. It feels like I was watching like a slow burn movie that abruptly went to credits in the middle of a scene. So like
I thought about that. I actually think it's interesting the way they end it, because a lot of shows like kind of force like a weird like, oh, tune in next week, but this one just like, oh, we're done with it, end. They kind of tried to do a hook at the end, like that's not always organic. Yeah. And tune in same bat channel next week, like try to make it poppy, where this one just tells the story and then it ends.
Well, but that's the thing. It doesn't really end, and not in those first 2 episodes. That's kind of the feeling that I got. I was like, there's no... Each episode, I'm used to an episode of television, and this can probably expand into a broader discussion over whether or not these content-creating mega companies feel trapped within the creative framework of the standard television model. Like, you don't have to make a TV show. If you have your own streaming platform, you can make a TV show however you want it to be. And one of the things I was thinking about was the way that a lot of BBC shows are. Like, Jack Taylor was a show that I was super into several years ago, where each episode was basically a feature-length film. It was an episode of television that was roughly an hour or 30 minutes long. And it really plays out like you're watching a movie. And it's like, well, there's no real reason why any of these shows can't do that also. And it felt like this kind of is like a slow evolution into that kind of pacing and that kind of show, but it just wasn't there. And like the cuts at the end of those episodes were just a little bit too jarring for me. So that was one of the things that and I want to hear your guys' opinion on whether or not that stuck with you, but that stuck with me.
Yeah, like to your point, Devin, I think Disney is having a hard time trying to figure out how to create TV shows and not chop up like blockbusters into 6 or 8 episodes. I think they're improving for sure. Like, I don't know if all of y'all have watched Ms. Marvel. I loved that. I feel like that was definitely, destined to be a TV show for sure. If that's a good, for better or worse, I should say, because I know it didn't hit for everyone. But that said, and She-Hulk as well. So I think that there are, folks over at Disney who are being more mindful about how to format stories to be more self-contained in each episode to bring them to a a satisfying arc within the limited time frame that they have. But yeah, with Andor, because like we know that it's been in production for what, since like 2018, like on and off. I'm assuming like there's been some, maybe like I'm assuming there's been like, you know, some production done on it that was more or less set in stone with what they have planned in the future, so they kind of had to move forward with it. So a lot of those antiquated practices of like, how do we adapt for television or for streaming, blah blah blah, maybe they hadn't like gotten to that point yet and had to move forward. That's just my personal speculation. But yeah, I did want to get Hans's thoughts on the series so far too.
I love it so far. I think it's great.
Nice.
I do understand the cuts in the middle between like episodes 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 did seem kind of off. It's almost like they should have just taken the cuts down and just made it one like hour and a half long episode.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too.
We got some folks saying that Andor's perfect, nothing wrong at all. Great take, says, you know. Anthony Cheeseman says TV is better than movies now. Honestly, you're not wrong. I mean, that's kind of like my personal opinion these days as well. What do y'all think? Are you enjoying more content at home than you are in the theater?
Oh yeah. I'm a homebody now. I'm an old man. Loves to watch it on his TV and his dogs and my wife. And and I think you get more character development sometimes in the TV series, you know.
I kind of disagree. I think that well, I don't think your assessment is wrong, but I think that, and this is kind of speaks to the argument about the death of movie theaters, or the supposed death of movie theaters, right? Like streaming and VOD. In general, are killing the movie-going experiences. But like, there is just something about going to a movie and having like that experience of being in like a closed-off, focused environment with a big screen, like a massive screen in front of you with a crazy sound system and all of that sort of stuff, and just being captive to whatever story without the distractions of, you know, whatever else is going on in your house, or, you know, all of that other stuff. Like, there is still, I think, a lot of value in the theater going experience. As far as whether or not I think it's better than TV, you know, they're just different. They're just different mediums, you know. Which actually made watching Rings of Power in the theater interesting, because, you know, that's a TV show that plays like a movie, and it didn't feel out of place in the theater at all. And I was talking with my buddy Justin about that. I was like, that's something you could do with that show that you couldn't do with like Star Trek TNG, where if you tried to play a TNG episode in the theater, it would be completely weird and off-putting, and, you know, it wouldn't quite flow the right way that you would expect it to. And, you know, like, so there is some value in the theater, I think, still.
How do you feel watching Rings of Power at home compared to having seen the first couple of episodes in the theater? I'm sure, based off what you said, it's a major downgrade.
Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, I wish I was watching them all in the theater. I mean, I still love the show, and it's still, you know, great visuals and all of that. But it is definitely made for a theater-going experience.
Hans, how about you? I know you follow more of the streaming services than most films, right? So, like, I don't know if you have any like strong opinions on, you know, if film content is more substantial to your taste than streaming content these days.
I do prefer shows mostly, like shows like Andor or Rings of Power, ones where you will have multiple episodes of a lot of heavy dialogue, but it's all like very meaningful stuff that's gonna come in full circle eventually. I enjoy storytelling like that more than something where every episode is like, oh, here's the beginning, here's the middle, something happens, here's the end, the heroes get the bad guy this episode, you know. But
yeah, totally. So like, in regards to Andor, do you feel like this comes off as more or less like a 2.5 hour or so film chopped up into different pieces, or do you feel like each episode comes to a successful arc that you feel like you can have a, like, you know, leave off at for a week and then come back to? For this, for me,
I would have been able to come back happily, looking forward to what's going to happen next. But I understand with a lot of other people, the want to come back wouldn't be there. So I understand why people wouldn't like it, but I would definitely be more than happy to watch the show week to week with those 3 episodes still.
Honestly, I haven't even watched Rogue One in years, and I wasn't too compelled to revisit it, to be honest. I was hoping there would be maybe like a 30-second, TLDR cut right before the first episode, so I wouldn't have to watch it, because honestly, I don't have that many, vivid memories of enjoying the movie, so I was a little skeptical to revisit it. Granted, it has been, 3-4 years since I did watch it, so... The reason I bring that up is because I'm enjoying Andor so much. I'm nervous to go back and watch Rogue One, because I'm like, I'm getting attached to this character, and now I kind of know what happens to him in the end, and they're building up all of this, emotional, gravitas around me connecting to him and his struggle,
I think it'll add to it. I think it'll make it better.
Me too.
And then season 2, if this show does decent ratings and the rumors are true about K2SO in season 2, I think it's going to improve even more so in season 2. Because that's the one, I love that character. That was one of the best things about Rogue One. One of the best droids ever, K2SO.
Devin, how about you? Were you personally connected to or were you really excited about this series when it first was announced, or were you a big fan of Rogue One when it came out?
I was a big fan of Rogue One. I didn't necessarily have any kind of feeling about this when it was announced. I'm kind of on the side of why prequels? Why keep doing prequels to stories that we've already seen when we know how it ends for those characters, and Star Wars has a pretty bad prequel obsession. Everything they put out just about seems to be a prequel of some sorts. So I wasn't really super, looking forward to it until I saw the first trailer. The first trailer was like, oh, okay, this actually looks pretty awesome. And, that character was a great character, by the way. I'm more excited about the show, honestly, now than I was when, it was first announced. It does have a really, don't get me wrong. I know that I started it off kind of, trashing, I guess, a little bit of its format, but it has amazing production value, production quality. The actors are great. Like I said, I forget what his name was. He was kind of like the boss guy, the Scotland Yard type inspector dude. He was a great character. That guy, yeah, he was a great character.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed him. He was just so nonchalant about basically fabricating.
Yeah, he was just like the worn down bureaucrat that's like, we don't really need to investigate this. I don't want to do that paperwork. I got to go give a speech. Then there's going to be a whole thing.
I think it was more than that.
What do you think, Hanz?
Well, he basically went through how it happened and where the guards were, and he was like, yeah, these guards are breaking every rule in the book, and then when they end up dead, you don't think they were still breaking the rules there. And he's like, he basically saying those guys had it coming because he knew they were scum.
He definitely justifies not doing an investigation of it, but
yeah.
It was definitely predicated on the idea that he just didn't want to deal with that shit. And he was on his way out the door. It was like, hey, don't cause trouble for me.
One thing too was he was on his way to an Imperial meeting or something with, and he once again is fabricating the crime rates as well to keep the Empire out of that sector or whatever. He's basically whatever keeps the Empire further away from this sector is good for me, and it's good for you. He was basically threatening the person to stop going any further with this investigation. You're gonna fuck up everything. So I watched the first 3 episodes again, and I was trying to put more clues together as far as who are these security, these corporate security dudes? What is their relationship to the Empire? Are they Empire adjacent? It seems there's this when the the main security dude who's fervent about pursuing the case and pressing charges against Cassian for the murder. Full disclosure, this is all spoilers. Should have put that in the title.
Yeah, you've got some spoilers in the little slideshow here.
Yes, that too. But yes, the point I'm trying to make too is that the overzealous security officers, the Paul Blarts, basically, they are adamant about bringing down Cassian, even to the point that one of them is like even more, aggressively into his job than the main dude. Devin, did you catch on to that? There's like the tall, skinny dude, and then the short,
and then there's like the Irish
dude.
or Scottish dude or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy was great too. Like he was great in this role too. He's like super overzealous and like he's like a total bootlicker. But like he also seems to be the only one who might be competent too. So like seems like he might be the real threat there.
I feel like there might be even like a power struggle between them because he might see the tall skinny dude, I forget his name, that dude who's pursuing Cassian the most as like a puppet figure to basically get access to more resources maybe, and then get his end goal of like being just like a complete tyrant over this sector, long arm of the law type of deal. But what did you think about those characters, Max, or like the corporate security dudes?
It was so refreshing to see like even the low level villains, not necessarily villains, but workers have a lot of character development and motives and agendas, and even like nerdy. Callie, settle down. I'll be over in a second.
Yeah, I thought he looked like Kyle MacLachlan too.
and then also that they try hard instead of just like you see stormtroopers in the OG trilogy, like by accident bumping their head on a ceiling or missing everything. They're not necessarily bad at they're not horrible at their job as some of the stormtroopers I've seen. It's kind of interesting. I liked following that group more than usual. It's more than you get in normal Star Wars. It's interesting. And yes, they are definitely characters. I love the characters.
Yes, I feel like these
in the
are
blue suits.
Yeah.
The security dudes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one guy that's when that's spoiler warning again, when that scene when Andor has the gun right up to him, and it's almost like they were both playing a game like you should kill him, and then he thought he got away. And then they followed that speeder and blew it up. But it just feels like they're going to have, when they do go do the other seasons, I feel like this guy's going to survive and he's going to become really intense later seasons. Like, I feel like you could see him being a little nerdy now, but once he gets promoted and gets some history behind him and Andor and the rebellion, he's going to be very formidable in the future, I feel.
I have a question for everybody. Like, right off the bat, like when they introduce Cassian, he has that encounter with the dudes at the bar, and then they try to rob him in the alley, and like, he headbutts that dude and accidentally kills him, and then the other guy is like pleading for his life basically, and then he kills him anyways. So like, what do you guys think? This is like the second time that we're introduced to this dude who like kills somebody in cold blood and basically the cold open almost. Like, what do you guys think of this character as like, obviously, so he's, every character has a flaw and it's about, coming to term, with their flaw and redemption and blah, blah, blah. But like, this is twice that this dude has like murdered someone in ice cold blood. Like, what do you think
that we know of?
I got it. I have an answer. So for the guard, in this first episode, the guard was pleading, saying, "Hey, we'll go back, and we'll tell him it was an accident." All this stuff.
Yeah,
that wasn't going to happen. As soon as they were on his turf, he would have lied. So it's like,
shooting him in the face? He couldn't just like pistol whip him and knock him out. He had to shoot him in the face.
Yeah, no survivors. He has to get away. No one. They saw his face. They were after him. He would have been. If he would have just knocked him out, he would have been wanted for. They would have like known who he was right away.
I
I'm
mean, they
jealous
seem
of
to know
people-
who he was right away, anyways.
I'm jealous of people who can be anonymous online and then just proclaim, like, acts of violence just blatantly, like, yes, it's totally okay.
No, it's not blatant. It's not blatant.
It was kind of self-defense, though, because, like, otherwise he would have gone to jail, right? I mean, like, and probably have gotten killed by these overzealous security officers in retaliation for the other dude's death. So, I mean, it was a be killed situation for sure.
And the other one, when he had to kill his rebel friend, was the guy would have been captured and told secrets. The rebellion would have ended there.
I feel like you guys are kind of like you're making a little bit of some leaps to like excuse his cold-blooded.
I'm tap dancing
Like-
around the logic.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
I
it does make
understand-
logical sense in this situation.
I understand what you guys are saying, and there is a logic to it, but at the same time, it's like, damn, this dude is just like a straight up, murder. Like, and not
Well,
just
both
like
times he steps back and kind of like
yeah,
I feel like he's very aware
Yeah.
of what he's doing, and he does feel guilt and remorse for it.
and I thought that like and the interesting thing about it in Rogue One is like I was like, oh man, this guy, he had to make the hard choice to like, potentially keep this guy from leaking information, et cetera, like. This is a tough thing. It must have been his like first real decision to make this kind of. But then after seeing it in this one, it's like, oh, this is just this guy's MO. Like he just this is like his wrestling special
That's
move.
fair. That's fair.
What did y'all think of let's see, kind of getting more into spoilers. So I was a little confused why we opened up in the brothels, and we know that Cassian is looking for his sister, and then that whole, I guess, initial quest becomes completely sidetracked once he murks the two security guards, for sure. But do y'all have any thoughts around because I can't even remember anything about his character from Rogue One, so like, is his sister like a significant part of his character?
I missed that. Thanks for pointing that out, Rhea. Sometimes I miss things the first watch. I didn't realize. I didn't put two and two together when he's looking for his sister. I just knew he's looking for a girl. I didn't realize it was a sister. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and the I guess headmistress of the brothel completely sells him out to the security guards too. It was so bad. Like, when I watched it the second time, I was thinking, God, he's just telling her his whole life story to this complete stranger, and like that's basically him giving himself up as far as like being able to get found. But I guess like that was before he murdered two people. I don't know. So that was a little frustrating to rewatch, but that was another thing that I wish had like been better executed, I guess, is like the continuing his motivation to continue to search for his sister, I guess, or bring it up more often in the following two episodes. But yeah, sorry, were you about to say something?
Well, I'm really interested now that you pointed that out, that he was trying to find his sister. I knew I assumed he had one based on the flashbacks, but I didn't realize he was actively looking for her, and that she got off. What's the planet's name again, where they grew up, or what they call him?
Kenari.
Like
Kenari.
Yeah, Kenari.
So I didn't realize that she made it off there too, and that she has a different life now. And I'm very interested to what the actress that hopefully will play her, if she's still, hopefully she's still alive. I would think so, if they're actively searching for her, and how big of a role she could have in the series. So yeah, I'm very intrigued by the sister. Yeah, if any, but right.
For all we know, in the next couple episodes, he could join the rebellion, and they can convince him to give up his search. He'll never find her in the galaxy that's so big, and he comes to terms with that.
But I wasn't thinking about him trying to find other Kavarians or whatever,
Maybe his sister is the big bad.
Ooh.
True, yeah.
Evan just blew my
Plot
mind.
twist.
Yeah, no, the big bad, I mean, like, this show is, like, very, like, I didn't go into it knowing too much about it other than, like, the surface level complaints of, like, the usual suspects that I like to watch y'all talk about, but I don't really, like, watch their content necessarily. So it's all, like, no pun intended, white noise to me.
Wow.
But basically, like, I watched the show.
That would
just
be
for
a
what
great
it is.
name for a show that critiques
What-
those guys, by the way.
It's literal too,
White
somewhat,
noise, yeah.
somewhat literal.
So like,
Thank you for my channel idea.
So watching Andor, the second time I'm watching, I'm like, damn, this show is like blatantly like ACAB, like, if you know, like basically like anti corporations, anti like establishment.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, it's all of those things.
Oh, Hanz
And
would be joking.
it's like at its core, it's like folks who are like on the brink of, you know, of rebellion, basically, not necessarily like becoming part of the Star Wars rebellion, but just like they are just sick of being like put under the boot of these rent-a-cops, basically, these Paul Blarts, who fancy themselves as cops. Even like the brothel mistress lady like uses that quote too to describe them. So yeah, I don't know, like going into the show and all of the talk around it prior to watching it, did that influence your viewing experience for it, or were you similar to me where you were able to walk away from it having like your own like personal connection to it and interpretations? Anyone can go first. Devin, if you want to go first.
I have to admit I was reading the chat, so I was kind of distracted by your question.
Oh, no worries. So I was basically asking, like, did the initial reviews for the show, for better or worse, influence your viewing experience, or were you able to go in like with your own, you know,
I didn't.
focus?
Like I said, I was surprised when it dropped, so I didn't see any of the reviews or anything like that. I just saw on Twitter someone say that they were out. I was like, oh, I got to go watch those, I guess. So yeah, that was basic. I went in as raw as you possibly can. Like, I've only watched that one trailer when they first released the first trailer for it. I haven't read anything about the show prior to. I was surprised to see Alexander Skarsgård in it. That was cool. I always like seeing him in anything. So when he popped up, I was like, oh, hey, cool, Skarsgård. You know, it was as clean an entryway as you could get into a show without, you know, going completely blind.
I've lost I didn't have any preconceived notions based on reactions or reviews. Basically, the amount of time I spent on the internet, even like the white noise, they have their angle, but I've lost respect for a lot of big movie talk because they get so YouTube minded for how to spend content, they can't even enjoy anything. Or like, I think people, like, even I've experienced when we first watched Rings of Power, I did it on Watch Party, and I'm like, I didn't enjoy it, but then I realized, am I doing this in the best environment with the best possible scenario to engage in this content? And I don't think even a lot of these people are. Like, they're thinking about their job, the content they could spin out of it, Easter eggs. A lot of people that are in the big YouTubers are thinking about, well, there's not enough Easter eggs for me to talk about in my videos. There's not much surprises and linking, and we know what's going to happen to these characters. But then all that stuff is supplemental. Doesn't matter. Like, I don't have any. I've lost my confidence in a lot of online personalities reviewing this. And honestly, besides the review bombing aspect, I think I trust the audience score more, unless I know it's really being attacked for political reasons. If there's not that huge push with review bombing, then I kind of trust the audience score more than anything else on some of these shows.
Max, you actually made a good point that I wanted to touch on, is that I mentioned this on your show too, well, like in the chat, that like I love Andor because I don't feel like I'm burdened with having to keep an eye out for all these different Easter eggs, all these different like references, and Hanz, I wanted to get your closing thoughts on Andor while we like transition into like the next few shows that we're gonna chat about.
I was going into the show already loving it, because when the show was announced and everyone was saying, who asked for this show? Who asked for Cassian? I was like one of the 5 people like, oh, I've been wanting this since Rogue One. So I'm very happy. I would like to see little things with everyone from Rogue One. I love that movie, but you know, I'm very happy with it so far.
I do have to, since you say that, Hanz, I have to call myself out because I was one of the people when they announced it. I'm like, who asked for this? Not
Me.
and I try not to do that. Even though I liked Rogue One, I'm like, why are we going to, But now that I see it, yes, and I try really hard not to do that. I don't want to be that guy. Who asked for this? Who asked for this?
Who asks for anything?
I think there's room, right? There's room for everything. So, but I was like, I just want so many other things ahead of my list. But no, this is
I only have one thing I'm asking for, and it's the 8-hour cuts of the Lord of the Rings movies.
Perfect transition into Rings of Power. Ayo. So yeah, Max, I know you only watched maybe half of the latest episode, right?
Why my dog had an incident that I had to
understandable.
Take care of before, and I didn't get to finish before my stream.
Yeah, totally. And Devin, you got a chance to catch up on the latest episode yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Or today. Yeah, totally. So I'm pulling up just a quick little review clip of the show from Twitter. But yeah, so since we had kind of a half midway season digest last week where we kind of fleshed out our thoughts, we don't have to backtrack too much. But what has this episode contributed to your viewing experience so far? Are you still anticipating something greater to really hook you and make you more excited about it, or are you even more pleased than you were before? Devin, if you want to go first.
It's just kind of a even ride for me. I started off high on this show, and I haven't seen anything that's bringing me down on it. The last episode was great, I thought, and I'm super, super, super looking forward to the next one. Looks like there's going to be a lot of epic shit in the next episode, so I'm on board. I just think it's upward trajectory.
Totally. Yeah, these clips I'm showing, again, sorry y'all, spoilers, but I'm sure you'll catch up eventually on your own time. But yeah, these three figures here, this is so interesting because that's the figure everyone thought was Sauron.
Yeah.
For months and months and months. And I'm just no, she's I have no idea who this person is actually. So yeah, it was the way they framed their picture originally, I was thinking back okay, everyone just assumed this is Sauron in elf form, right? But now we have no clue who they might be. So I don't know if Hanz, you obviously know the lore probably the best out of all four of us, but do you have any educated guesses as to who that might be?
No, I think it's a made-up character. But it's someone that's obviously close to Sauron and close enough where they were given some kind of power from him.
Okay. Do you think that they are maybe similar or somehow connected to Adar, the more the orc elf dude?
Yes, I think they're all connected. I think that elf might be one of the elves that followed Fëanor in the long time ago, and he just stayed alive because he talked about living in Valinor. So we know he's very old and very strong.
Oh, you're talking about Adar, the orc
yes.
elf. So he's hella old. He's lived with Fëanor, who, can you refresh our memory as far as who that is?
Fëanor did the first kinslaying. He's the one that he was in charge of the Silmarils being made, and it all ended up being the War of Wrath and Morgoth and Sauron coming back, all that stuff.
The kinslaying wasn't ever mentioned in the show, was it?
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was in one of the first 2 episodes. I feel like they touched on it very briefly.
Okay.
I'm pulling up some more clips, but yeah, Max, I know you mentioned something interesting on your show earlier about your feedback on the choreography for Galatrial specifically.
Oh yeah. I totally feel that she is not a Mary Sue like others have claimed on the internet. I'm not going to mention who, but the choreography didn't feel as and this is for Zeno, organic or flowing as it could have been. It felt, even though I believe she's well seasoned as a warrior.
Are you talking about when she fought all those dudes?
Yeah,
I thought it was awesome.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it personally, but yeah, I'm pulling up the clip right now, so we can critique it. But
Yeah,
yes,
Max, what's your
continue, Max.
problem? What's your deal,
No,
man?
it wasn't bad or anything. It just, you know, she is supposed to be an amazing warrior, and I felt it.
Mhm.
The choreo. It felt like It felt like I was watching someone doing choreography instead of natural and organic. I mean, like that she was trying hard to do it, or I don't know if this was her stunt double too. Probably cutaways. There's probably when they get to it.
Elendil was looking at her like, oh my god, like he was like so smitten and like watching her like fight.
Mhm.
And then like Halbrand is just like chilling in the shadows, like, oh, let's see what's going on here. So I
Sauron?
don't know. Halbrand. Oh yeah, Halbrand is secret Sauron. What if Elendil is Loki Sauron
Yeah.
and everyone's just
Galadriel's actually Sauron.
The other moment,
Yeah, I thought it's actually Isildur.
Isildur.
He's actually
Actually, it's this guy right here. The kid that's about to fight her. That's Sauron.
Do you really think it's going to be someone who is not obvious at all? Like, there's all these red herrings who are just very sinister looking, but they just happen to be that way. They're not necessarily Sauron.
They're definitely talking a lot of red herons in here.
So, like, again, like, I pulled this up. Oh, yeah, Elendil is just like, damn.
looks a little better the second time, I guess. The other thing that the episode I loved so far, but the only other part of the episode that I felt was like a little flat was the Braveheart speech by that one girl that's with the one elf. I was like, man, I wouldn't have followed her either. I mean, not that the guy did any better, but it was like, wasn't it supposed to be like, come on, everyone, let's fight for her? And then they're like, eh.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very weak people.
Yeah, she's not a soldier.
No, I understand that, but when you're given a speech like that in any show or movie or something, it's be a little bit, it just really landed flat. Like, come on, everyone.
Well, I mean, but and this is a part of, I guess, the screenwriting dynamic. She gave her speech. It was effective for some people, but then that other dude immediately followed up with his speech, and he was like, "We got to get out of here and bend the knee and blah blah blah." And then like everyone was like, "Yeah, fuck this. We're not gonna fight these fucking orcs. We're all in fucking rags and shit." So like,
I know what scene you're
left.
talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So like I guess like the point of her mid speech is that exactly that, like it's impossible odds. They're drama baiting you. It's like this is an impossible situation that these people are in. She can't rally enough people to fight these orcs because enough people realize that it's a lost cause. So what are they gonna do? Mm-hmm. Tune in next time and find out.
The high point. I love the Harfoot song.
Yes, I have a
beautiful.
small clip of it as well. I'd love to play. But
is that one of Tolkien's songs from his books, or is that
no.
Original?
It's an original.
That was a good
I just
original.
wanted to touch on Galadriel real quick because I know this gets a lot of criticism in the show, and I actually did make a tweet about it. She's an elf who saw the light of the trees. Those specific elves are stronger than any other elf. They have inhumane strength. Like, remember the scene with Glorfindel, the elf, and the tree and the Balrog, and how he was able to fight a Balrog.
I have to find
Yeah.
all these clips I retweeted
that
on
was
Twitter
sick.
to use today.
That would make a sick wallpaper.
He was able to fight a Balrog and hold back its strength. And memory serves well, he does kill it, and he also dies. But these elves, like Glorfindel and Galadriel, they're able to go up against Balrogs, which are Mire, which is, with Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, that's them. And these elves are able to fight them. So Galadriel has strength, and she's been alive for thousands of years. It makes sense that she'd be able to go up against these recruits with little training.
I'm sorry, if you ever played D&D, like there's no rational reason why you should not be all about this show. Like giving you epic shots like this. Like this is everything that I wanted to see in a high fantasy epic TV or movie show. Like,
and the people who are like, oh, the cinematography isn't good, bro. We literally just saw like a 3.5 minute,
People
like,
just
choreographed swashbuckling, battle training session.
I'm convinced these are just buzzwords for people on the internet. The CGI looks bad. The people just say that stuff without any substance. It's just a
By the way,
thing. Like
Glorfindel, sorry. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And fourth, like you're always welcome here. You're a good friend of mine for sure. I know that your criticism is not just like just to be like, counter, like status quo. I know it's genuine, but yeah, like to your point, I mean, I can admit, like, yeah, it does look digital. It does look like a video game. It still looks badass as fuck.
It looks awesome. It looks fucking cool. I don't give a shit. Like, if it looks cool, it looks cool. Fuck if it looks digital. Like, it looks fucking awesome. Like, I would put that on my wall if I could get a really, like, high quality print of it. Like,
oh yeah, I'm sure there's a 4K thing being worked on for this right now. Oh,
hey Ray, I know this is switching gears going back to Andor, but look what our pal Cyrus has to say on Twitter about Andor. I just wanted to show
enjoyed it. Yeah, I'll share it. Yeah.
Andor is the Star Wars show I've always dreamed of but never dared hope for. Most people hate it. It's grown up, artistic, and slow. I couldn't be happier. Hashtag Andor. That's so great to hear people like that.
And he grew up, like, probably when those movies were out, like, in theaters, right? So he's, like, a legacy Star Wars fan. And I'm pretty sure William really enjoyed the series as well, and he's, like, a legacy fan, too. Not saying that they represent, all the legacy fans. But,
I speculate by the end of the season, a lot more people are going to be on board. I think I said it, I feel like it's going to be very light, but Game of Thrones light. Like, you might see some stuff like that. With this espionage and spying. I don't know. I think something's going to happen.
Strange Marvel, you actually reminded me. So, like, y'all were talking about it, too, where the humans were split between wanting to go and join Sauron versus not. So the folks who stayed, I did get, like, big Helm's Deep vibes from Two Towers, and people just, like, in that stronghold, holding on to whatever little bit of hope they had left. But it was wild because... they were obviously a lot smaller in number than Rohan was, being in Helm's Deep, but yeah.
And they had like a king and an army, at least.
Yeah, completely different. But I guess the scenario sort of like reminded of me, but like much like lower chances of victory, I should say, at least like from what we've seen until Numenor comes in.
I guess this is where I didn't get to yet. I'm interested to see this part of this.
Oh,
I got that exact.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's cool. That's cool. I didn't know. I thought it was heading that way anyway. Like, you could tell from the episode that something's going to happen like that.
I will read Forth's comment. I honestly don't like the look of the show. The show is so clean. The original Lord of the Rings shot on film made the world look more tangible, gritty, organic. Word of the night, instead of computery. I'm not being contrarian. No, I understand. Totally. I wasn't accusing you of that. I was saying that I know you're not being that. But yeah, to your point. Completely valid criticism for sure. Films filmed on film grain do look a lot nicer in my opinion. So I will definitely,
I understand
tip my cat ears to you in your direction for that. And the use of miniatures for sure in the Lord of the Rings trilogy is something that I immensely am a big fan of as well. I think. To Rings of Power's credit, they do have a lot of like really great practical effects, like not only like with the orcs, which we praise every week, but also with their sets too. Devin, did you want to say something?
I was just gonna say that different vibes that they're going for, like from my understanding, basically everything that takes place in those trilogy movies and books is kind of like a post-apocalyptic version of this world. And what we're seeing in Rings of Power is like, everything before shit went south, and it's a high fantasy. Like, it's supposed to look more, it's not Game of Thrones. It's not dark fantasy. It's not gritty and realistic and, that. It's supposed to inspire like a feeling of like ethereal, godliness of sorts. And I think it does a great job of that. And I think the costumes are fucking wicked. Like I love the Numenorian armor. That looked really cool. Like the ships and all that looked really cool. The armor that Halberd showed up in at the end. Sorry, Max, for spoilers. That looked really
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I'll rewatch these episodes. So
Yeah, like the orcs look great, and I love how the orcs have like personality. They all have individual personalities. It's kind of like what like the orcs in the cartoon Lord of the Rings was back in the 70s. They have wacky names and stuff. They felt like orcs. Like it was a great thing. Like I don't really, and they looked great. Like comparing it to the Peter Jackson thing, it's like, all right, well there is a lot of like nostalgia and esteem that's going to elevate the Peter Jackson stuff on top of it just being really good, but it's a different era, both in terms of the story they're telling and the era in which the film was made. So it looks great still, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's a comparison. It's almost apples and oranges.
Hans, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that, in your opinion?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying 100%. I just like what Devin was saying. It's a different era of Middle Earth. There's more magic in the world in general during this time period. So it's kind of like the way it looks. It makes you feel like there is more magic in like the air, basically.
Yes, yeah. To y'all's point, there's definitely more mysticism, etherealness, a lot more than I'm getting from House of the Dragon. But those shows are fulfilling for different reasons. And then just to kind of like wrap up some thoughts on it. We got more scenes with the Harfoots and the Stranger. I really appreciated that. We touched on the original song that was written for that episode. That is still really great.
It's
I
beautiful.
couldn't find a clip. It was beautiful, yes. And let's see. There was also Elrond and Durin's, complicated, oath to one another to not share that they discovered Mithril. However, it's already sort of surfaced that Gil-galad and Celebrimbor knew that there was some sort of deposit of what they assumed to be Mithril that the dwarves did discover. So, Hans, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like the one part of the episode I wasn't a huge fan of. I didn't like how Elrond resorted to being somewhat unhonest with Durin. When watching it, I was like, there's so many different ways he could have done it, and I feel like it would have been in Elrond's character to do it a way where he didn't have to be dishonest. So that's like the one like big thing that I kind of like disappointed me about it.
That also felt like it was definitely, and I know that like the whole origin story of Mithril from that tree was a fabrication for the show. That everything that involved that kind of felt like it too. Like, oh, okay, this is kind of a weird sort of thing, but I still like those characters interacting with each other. I like Elrond and Durin's relationship. So even though I agree with you on that, like Elrond, the way that he handled that situation, I like that the dwarf tricked him into giving him their table. That was funny.
Yeah, that was great. I just found the music clip that I will go ahead and share really quick. It's kind of short, and yeah, let's see.
You're not gonna get clapped for that, are you?
I'm probably gonna get clapped for a few things, but I put my little disclaimer that's supposed to get me saved if I appeal. So
okay.
Yeah, let's see. I have it on my Twitter, so I'll go ahead and play that. And I'll pause the awesome Chrono Trigger music. Let's see. Add to stream.
Call to me, lands far away. For I must now wander this wandering day. No matter the sorrow, no matter the cost, not all who wander or wander are lost.
Die Range der Macht.
Overseas gets all the best trailers.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great song.
That was a great song.
It really captures Tolkien. Tolkien's like the way he would write his songs. I've been listening to the books, and he has a lot of like little poems and stuff in it. And it's it does sound very Tolkien.
I also wonder, just because you said that was intriguing what you just said, international trailers. We get so many usual and white noise here in the States. But if you think of Tolkien and the books, that's a worldwide thing. Like there's lots of places around this world that have read the books. So I'm wondering how good this is doing in other regions too. Amazon too has a big reach for a streamer. I'm wondering, we could hear a little bit of reactions, but I'd almost bet that this is doing really good in other regions of the world too, because of the Tolkien lore and the history with so many people reading these books.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what and if they, or when or if they announce the second season for sure. I think we know that there's a few seasons that they had planned, so I'm really.
That's the only thing I'm not looking forward to is like, what are the waits going to be for the second seasons? I'm like, oh no.
Oh yeah, because of all the production value that we're seeing.
Yeah,
in these,
like
I'm
like, you better be filming now. For second season.
No, it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
It will.
If it's 4 years, it'll be fine.
Oh,
That's true. That's true.
Many of us have had to wait
4
like
years.
5 years for one show before.
I can't wait 4 years
That's a good
between
point.
seasons.
You could.
Hans, don't tell me that.
You could.
Oh.
But yeah, I just wanted to get to some other topics really quick. I know we're coming up at an hour, but we can quick shot through some thoughts on She-Hulk. Have y'all been following that show, and what are your thoughts on it? Max, I see you nodding your head first.
Oh, it's fun. Like, I don't think it's amazing. I think the CG could be better. I know everyone points to that. It's not horrible, but looking at it, sometimes gets that uncanny valley type thing where it's kind of like off. Some scenes but overall it's just fun. Like, I like the storylines. I do also wish there was more action, but I think it's coming. I think they're going to end on a high note towards the end. Daredevil's not there yet, and I had a lot of fun. Like, it's an easy watch. Like, it's over before you know it.
Definitely. Like, I don't really feel like there's a whole lot to really dig into and really warrant all the vitriol online against this show. It's just like a fun, silly time. Like, I enjoy it. It's like, over before it really starts, like 20 minutes in, and we're getting like a recap and that, like, and all this other stuff that isn't pertinent to the story, just to like world build. And then it's over. And yeah, like, there is some, questionable, CGI. Maybe the humor doesn't always hit, but, I enjoy it, for what it is, for sure. Devin, have you been following this show at all?
Oh yeah, I've watched them all.
Oh, nice. Okay. What are your thoughts on it up to now?
I like it. I think it's fun. It's definitely lighter than some of the other, Marvel shows. It doesn't take itself seriously, which is what I like about it. And the characters, I like Titania. I think she's hilarious. I like the scenes with her. They're always introducing new weird characters and concepts, like the Immortal. That was interesting and kind of weird. I think it. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I think it's a good show. I think it's definitely a different kind of. It's. I would be hard pressed to even call it a superhero show, because it doesn't really have superhero vibes. It's just kind of like a. It's like just a comedy show.
Comedy show. Tatiana Maslany, this was a good episode because you finally get to see Jen get some swagger and time to shine in this episode, and you kind of almost, like, even though you love She-Hulk, you kind of want Jen to succeed too, like, because it's the same character, but yeah. I felt good for Jen in this episode with her love interest, and I don't know, I have to remember what happened at the end of the episode.
Oh, they eat French fries together.
Oh, they eat French fries together. Yeah, see,
yeah,
that was sweet. I like that.
Yeah, it was just, kind of like, I think what makes people upset, if I had to just sort of like summarize some of the feedback that I've seen that's been negative, it's like everything is very like mundane that she goes through, and nothing is very like spectacular or comic book movie.
Yeah, good.
And
Good.
I'm just like, yeah, it's a different vibe, So yeah, I don't have much to counter that
There's
with,
always-
because it's not what
I
that show's
do.
going for.
I do. If it was epic, it's thing like, of course they'd give the epic storylines to She-Hulk because she's more powerful than Hulk. That's what would happen if they did some. There's never pleasing some people, is my opinion.
But also, like,
You're
the
right.
fact that it's not super epic and it's just kind of a fun, lighthearted show. It's funny and there's like some interesting introspective moments in it. Like, it's a nice kind of a break between all of like the unbelievably heavy epic shit that surrounds it. Like, we've got two epic fantasy shows, one more epic than the other, depending on what preference you have. You have House of the Dragons, which is bleak and epic and dark and like overwhelming, and Rings of Power, which is like fucking watching the Bible on film. And then we have Andor, which it brings its own degree of epicness to it. And all of these other things. We saw the trailer for Secret Wars, which looks, in my opinion, fucking awesome, but also looks dark and epic and heavy. And you have all this other stuff coming out, and it's like, okay, I just want to watch a show where I don't have to like feel the weight of its stakes like so intensely weigh down on me. I just want to watch a show where I can relax and have fun and like be in and out and just enjoy myself. And I think She-Hulk does that.
What say you, Rohan's Crimson Ranger of the North?
I don't think I've seen an episode since episode 2. Not because I didn't like it or think it's bad. It's just, not in the mood for it. Because it's like, it's more comedy. It's less. It's not as no stakes really. I just haven't. I'll get around to it, but
Totally. Fair. Like we said,
I did see
it's kind
the
of content overload.
yeah, I did see the meme though that recently came out, and I thought it was so funny.
What was it?
The one about incels and how they're mad about the show. And
the change in the
oh my
logo.
god,
Yeah.
that was hilarious. And then you go to the replies, and I couldn't stop laughing.
The replies are almost always funny.
I didn't even want to reply on that.
Dude, it's so funny.
Oh,
yeah,
really
I
quick.
didn't even want to look.
Really quick, Strain Marvel asked a question. I apologize. I don't remember saying I was surprised at Elrond's dishonesty. Did someone else mention that? Oh yeah. Do you want to respond to Strange Marvel's question?
I understand that it's a little different, in my opinion, just because in this case in this show, he didn't. I felt like there was many other ways he could have went around it, and with that. For a while in Aragorn's youth, he was trying to protect him from all of that. So he just kind of eliminated that part of his life for a while, if I understand.
Oh, one thing I also wanted to add, I'm starting to appreciate Elrond a little bit more because I'm starting to see that he is kind of living in the shadow of his father as well, who's a living entity as like an immortal star in the sky, who's like constantly watching over him and shadowing over him, and everyone just. And
he was just compares. A man.
Yes, he's basically it's this like huge, a huge legacy to live up to, and Elrond constantly, explicitly references like, I wonder what my father would, think of me right now, or like I wish I could have just like one more conversation with my father. So it's not like he like resents him or anything. Like he still like has like a deep love and appreciation for him. So yeah, Elrond's starting to grow on me, even though I was salty that he didn't follow through with his promise to Galadriel to pursue the great evil like he promised he would after he tricked her to go off into to the Undying Lands. But yeah, that's just me. At least how the show framed their relationship. So
I just want to say this real quick about this comment. That's not entirely true. Like, she starts off being annoyed by being green, but then as she like gets used to a character, like that's a part of the show that I like, is her development. Like, it's about the Jen character becoming comfortable with like her body, basically, you know. And as she like becomes more and more confident, like it's the She-Hulk character that's building up confidence in the Jen character, and you see that more and more with each episode. So like that's the whole point. Like that's what I like about the show. Like, I started off not really caring too much about Jen as a character, but then like the show actually goes out of its way to like make you feel sorry for her with all of the really bad dates she goes on, that she has to bring them all to court, and like it's just like a really awful scenario. But like, and you can tell that it's wearing on her. Like like all of this stuff in her life outside of the Hulk thing wears on her. But like the Hulk element of her is it's what's empowering her. Like, she's getting power from herself in that. So like, and you see that as each episode goes on. So this take isn't quite right. She is annoyed at first, but that annoyance is about, you know, someone who isn't, you know, comfortable in their own skin, basically, and then growing into their comfort.
Snap, snap, snap. Love it, love it. Perfect transition to get to last big show of the evening, and I just want to get through the comments first as well. Thank you for folks coming in. We had like 17 or so viewers, Twitch and YouTube. Thank y'all so much. Please be sure to check out our guests as well via their channels too. And yeah, I am gonna go ahead and make sure I catch everyone's questions. Strange Marvel says, Rhea, noticed the pattern of many of the heavy-hitting Avengers having left Earth, setting up for the Skrulls to creep in and impersonate the heroes. Gotcha. Yeah.
Good point.
For y'all more deep into the Marvel lore, like I'm sure Devin and Max are, and probably Hanz. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten a chance to really talk to you about like
Not really.
Marvel stuff. But yeah, that's probably something that y'all are interested in. Yes, Original Seed, Potion Sword Run, Rohan's, and yeah, the incel meme was hilarious. I did see that. And yeah, I'm just gonna quickly get to everyone's comments. So like, there was some discontent around like the Daredevil bait and switch. I didn't, have any expectations to see Daredevil in this episode. I don't know how other people were. Maybe through like a teaser from last week or something. I don't know. But were y'all upset about that?
I have something to say about this now.
Yeah.
I was fine with them leaving it off, but I also think the wedding with her having somewhat success in the Gen form is going to lead right into Matt Murdock, and I believe Daredevil is going to have, they're going to have a relationship with Jen and Matt instead of Matt and She-Hulk, and that's why she's feeling more natural in her real self instead of She-Hulk. That's my interpretation. That's going to lead into the Matt. I think there might be some relationship there in the future. Oh, you don't think so?
No, I'm shaking my head at Zeno's terrible comment here. Sorry.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No.
Someone should slap Zeno. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
I didn't know.
I'll slap him later for you. I'll give him a call. Zeno, come on. It's Friday night. Be cool. Be cool.
I didn't expect Daredevil to show up this episode. Like, obviously, that's going to be like a big thing for the show. Like, everyone's looking forward to it. So
but her getting comfortable more as Jen herself.
Yeah.
Like, she's not, even before she turned She-Hulk, she was successful in her career, maybe. But I don't know if she was exactly comfortable in herself altogether. But she's growing as Jen, too. And I think that's a good point to have this episode before she meets Matt. If the shipping rumors are true, if the shipping of Matt Murdock and Jen are true in rumors about the series.
I wanted to shout out Second Street Marvel. Thank you so much, Trinity, for coming by to visit. And I see a few folks from your stream that I was over on earlier. So thank you so much for having folks come over and visit. We were just in the midst of our She-Hulk discussion. We got into Rings of Power and Andor as well. A few folks joined us from your show for the Andor chat as well. And the Rings of Power too. So thank you so much for the support. And yeah, Quentin's like, I look at the show like it's Marvel's Friends. Oh, I mean, it's a little better than Friends in my opinion. But yeah, like I
Friends
can dig
is good.
it.
Friends is really good.
I was more.
You
of a
really
living
do like
single,
everything, huh?
You know, kid.
What are you saying, Hans?
I see you really do like everything, huh?
Yeah, I didn't watch Friends that much when it was on, but sometimes at the cottage, we watch. I found it at Goodwill with my niece. All seasons of Friends for $10, and sometimes we watch it. It's fun.
Nice. Expectations need to be managed for Daredevil, as it will differ from the Netflix version. Yeah, totally. I mean, we already know the costume's going to be different, and tonally, what they're going to be going for. It's not going to be like that hard R or whatever rating Netflix content would have gotten. That is R-rated equivalent, but yeah.
Oh, prepare yourself for next week, She-Hulk, because once Daredevil makes his debut, there's going to be a lot of opinions on this. It's going to be, it's probably going to get good views too, really good views.
I hope that this is Strange Marvel Theories. I hope this theory comes to fruition. That would be a great episode for sure.
Ooh.
And yeah, the defendant versus plaintiff situation for sure. Quentin says, didn't mean it as slight. I just mean it's a good feel good show to relax with. Totally. She'll probably be different in movies. Yeah, that's always a possibility as well. I know Moon Knight is going to get adapted into films as well with Scarlet Scarab. So yeah, I'm really excited for that too. It's not connected to Netflix Daredevil. Yeah, no, it's going to be a little bit different, but I feel I'm going to wait and see to, before passing judgment. But yeah, wrapping up She-Hulk, we'll get into the last topic of the night. House of the Dragon. So, Hans, I know you haven't started House of the Dragon just yet, which is okay, but you don't mind if we go into spoilers or anything, right?
Nah, go for it.
Okay, great. So, most recent episode. I actually don't mind the time jumps as much. I actually look forward to, how much we're going to, jump further ahead into the future every episode, because now I'm acclimated, or, I'm used to that in this show's format so far. Devin, what are your thoughts on this week's episode?
This was probably my least liked episode, to be honest. There was a lot of weird stuff in it. The time jumps, yeah. So I know that there's a different actor that's going to play the princess at some point. But I don't get why they haven't brought her in yet, because you saw in a previous episode, Jesus, what is the sea snake's name? I forget his name, but you see his daughter. She's little, they're
Corliss.
Corliss, yes.
Yeah.
You see Corliss's daughter. They're proposing that she marries the king, and she's 8 years old. And then she shows up to the wedding or whatever, and she's 20. It's wait a second. A lot of time has passed if she's this old, but the princess still looks the same. So that's weird.
Yeah. I thought that about her character as well, Devin. You're right.
Yeah. So there's that sort of stuff going on, and the whole thing with Kristen Cole, that was kind of weird. I didn't quite understand what was going on there. There was definitely some Scooby-Doo writing with the queen confronting him in the bedroom, and he's just it's pretty obvious what's gonna happen. It's well, if she just says Damon, then this whole thing is moot. But the queen is just tap dancing around the issue, and then Kristen Cole is yeah, I did it. I banged the princess. And it's okay, well, all right. It's
which was a complete distraction from her actual, insinuation.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice that I kind of almost feel like this is her episode to shine, because she was basically trying to giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, trying to just be the best she could be in the situation. And now she's finally playing the game, if you're actually going to say the Game of Thrones. Now she's playing. She's always in green, which means a lot. She's talking to her uncle, and she is going to be I feel like she's going to be intense in her older version.
Well, yeah,
started out more innocent, Allison innocent, but
Well, now it's about her own survival and the survival of her children.
Yes,
because her father put that thought into her head. Otto basically,
which was a great scene.
The queen is gonna. Yeah, that was a great scene between them. That Otto, again, putting this poison into people's ears, or these insecurities, you think that the queen isn't going to try and remove you and your children from the equation once the king dies.
Their power dynamic completely changed there. Do you see how Rhaenyra was disrespectful all the time, and now she's she's got a frog in her throat when she saw her stepmother? I mean, look at her. Completely,
Yes,
the
I
power
can see
dynamic
that, yeah.
completely changed from Rhaenyra, like totally disrespecting her all the time, to like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, the little bit of exposition that the crowd gives about the significance of the color green with the house Hightower was helpful as well.
I
Yeah.
love that look there. I've never seen Rhaenyra like that yet until this episode.
Yeah, totally. She's
Even
usually
when
very,
even
like,
even when she's
confident.
staring down her uncle with dragons, she did not get choked up like that, like she did with Alicent.
Totally. And yeah, they are ready for war, absolutely. So yeah,
But that's
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. That's another thing. Like, so obviously they're building up. All of this is just a build up to eventually King Viserys passing, and then a war for the throne. Like that much is a given. That's not. It shouldn't be a spoiler to anyone. And like,
I was shocked he
we-
was still alive after this episode. I thought he was done.
He's
that's
falling
the thing.
apart, man.
Each episode, well, that's the funny thing. Like each episode, it's like, oh, he's got an element on his back, or his arm is deteriorating, or now he's coughing. Like he was coughing so much this episode at the feast, he was coughing blood, and then he after the midnight marriage, he passes out. So it's like, oh, they're building up to like an imminent passing of the king. Like this shit's about to hit the fan immediately. Like this is bad. But then like, not to spoil the spoil, but in the next episode of Game of Thrones preview, like he's old. He's really old. It's like, wait,
Yes.
he lives to a ripe old age anyways? Like what was the point of him like being sick the whole time? Like I thought he was gonna die, unexpectedly from his illness, but if he just lives to be an old man, then there was no point in all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is a really good point. I feel like we may see more struggle between the children going into the new episodes, which I'm a little hesitant because like we're already losing young Rhaenyra and young Alicent, but you know what? I'm already sold on what I've gotten so far from this series, not having watched Game of Thrones already, so I'll stay faithful that the shows or the episodes coming out for the show may impress me even further to stay committed to the show, because I do intend on watching Game of Thrones after this season for sure.
You're gonna have to the Jon Snow sequel series.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, I forgot they announced that, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let's see. I'm gonna read these comments really quick. Quentin Time Podcast says, yeah, they're just selling the idea that the king is weak for a dragon. And Caden Reed in the house, Baden says, Viserys is dead after this episode, has to be. PKL says, after seeing the episode 6 trailer, it's fascinating to see how much Rhaenyra and Alicent have changed. Yeah, their whole like friendship is now just resentment and fear for their own survival at this point. They're stretching the tension as far as it can go before he dies, says Forth, and it'll be an oh wait, what was fake, Max? Do you know what Zeno is
Maybe
referencing?
he means the Jon Snow sequel series, but it's a real. As far as I don't think it's just a scoop. I think it's real.
And Hans, what were you about to say? I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask about the Jon Snow thing because I haven't. Yeah, I don't know. It seems weird.
I mean, I will research it, but as far as I know, I thought that was like officially in development, like officially.
I can check as well.
I think it's a limited series. It's not going to be like.
Let's see. What does Google have to say about this? I'll go ahead and share my search results.
Zeno, it's not gonna work.
What's not going to work? I'll go ahead. And
He's trying to trigger me.
Oh, is he baiting?
Yeah, he's trying to bait me.
Yeah, that's just what
I
a
know
dumb
it.
Snyder fan would think, though.
Oh!
Ooh.
It's not a scoop. They're developing that show. That's what I heard as well.
Oh,
Not just,
you
like, on
see, you
Max's
didn't have
show.
to. You didn't even have to use Google. You could have just used the newest search engine on the internet, Caden.
Oh yeah, who can like cross-reference everything?
Caden,
for
the
me.
Caden search
I
engine.
appreciate
He knows. Is it official, Caden?
Let's see. Yeah, and yeah, it looks like all these different sources are basically
Hollywood Reporter,
speculating on what this show is actually going to be about. Totally fine. Yep, Hollywood Reporter. So yeah, it looks like that is in development. We're not sure on like the ETA of like when that show is going to come out, but hopefully I'll be done with Game of Thrones in time. I think Brian was able to finish it in like 2 weeks, right?
Well, if you are going to watch it, let us know when you get to season 8, because I might want to rewatch it too, and then maybe discuss season 8 again, because I haven't watched it since all of the backlash, and I would love to rewatch it with. There is really something to be said about your environment and how you watch things, and being removed from all the hype and people's reactions and just watching it as is going to be very enjoyable to rewatch and discuss. And I would love, I don't know, Devin, are you up for that? Rewatching season 8 at least?
Yeah, for certain. Like, I was never as down on season 8 as most people were.
I'll admit I was. I wasn't.
Most people were.
I wasn't scorched earth like The Last Jedi or anything, but I was disappointed. But now that I'm so far removed and we have all these great series now, I really want to rewatch it. Really.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to rewatch the whole series though. I just want to go to the last season or two, maybe. Yeah,
I definitely want to get Brian on as well, because I feel like he and I share a lot of like similarities in how we enjoy content. We don't go looking for for problems. We go in like with an open heart, open mind to enjoy it as what it is. I feel like a lot of us are that way too. I just notice I kind of like enjoy content similar to Brian. So yeah, I would love to have him on too, since he just recently finished this series or caught up with the complete series. And I know Hanz, you finished Game of Thrones too, right?
Yeah, I've only seen it all one time.
For sure. But once I do get caught up with the series, I will definitely set that up. Go ahead.
Right. I have a question for you about House of the Dragon. What is your opinion on the Christian Cole character?
Okay, so I feel like I am having a hard time empathizing with the weight of what he's going through. And what I mean by that is that I don't understand why he is so ready to risk it all, basically, like risk his life or risk whatever little dignity he has left, just because he feels that his white cloth or whatever has been like, and he has been like removed from, his family name or something, like he's lost honor, he feels dishonored, I don't know. So yeah, I'm having a hard time putting it into words because I just don't really understand his feelings around it. And maybe I've never really like gone through that. I don't know, like if he feels that marrying Rhaenyra would have been a way to reclaim his honor somehow. He wasn't really, I don't feel like he really understood what he was asking Rhaenyra to do. Even though he's been like a close friend and confidant to her for years and years, like he still doesn't quite have a clear understanding of the environment that he's in, because he's so far removed from the mindset that a lot of them operate in, which is like very like backstabbing and opportunist and stuff. Like he's too wholesome, I guess, for me to like really like understand as a character, because the show is just so dark and sinister, so I'm still trying to figure out what his role is going to be in this series, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. He's definitely so the interesting thing about that character is like, yeah, he's very honor centric, I guess. Like he puts a great deal of stock into being an honorable knight and following the coda. And essentially, he's forced under duress of sorts to sleep with the princess. He doesn't want to do it. Like, and that scene was so uncomfortable. Like, the way that he was undressing as she was like, goading him into it. I was like, God damn, this is rough. And like, you could tell he didn't like it. And then like afterwards he feels bad about it. And it's like, damn, this dude can't catch a break. Like all he wanted to do was be an honorable knight in service to the throne. And now he feels he's lost his honor. Like he did this thing he didn't want to do with her. Like all of it.
I just can't imagine someone so wholesome existing in this world. Does that make sense?
Well, honestly,
that's Stark.
When we did the watch party, he shocked me. I didn't think he was going to survive this. I thought this was going to, like, seeing a preview of the next episode. I'm like, oh, he's not gonna make it, and she totally ruined him by getting him in this situation. I mean, he was a willing enough participant, but like she didn't care about it, what was gonna happen to him at all.
Not at all.
At all.
Not at all.
He's just like, you want to be my side piece? Well, that's not what I was signing up. Well, that's what you get. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like I felt bad for him, you know, and
but
it's
that fight I just did not see coming though.
But that's the weird part.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden, like there's this scene where he goes full psycho, and it's like, wait, what was? And we obviously purposefully don't know what started it. We don't. It just erupted and then turned crazy, and that was another part of it actually that kind of bothered me. It's like, okay, the dude that he murked, he was a noble. Like he was a knight. Like they called him Sir something or other. It was Joffrey.
And then Allison gets hold of him after that.
Well, he does it like because like the last scene, he's walking up to the tree and he's about to commit seppuku. By the way, seppuku exists in this world. That's
apparently,
interesting.
yeah.
But like, and I'm like, how is this guy not in a dungeon?
But Allison, I'm telling you, Allison too. She stepped up to be a player in this episode, and then she stopped him from doing that. And now he might be really devoted to Allison now, especially since they were both burned by Rhaenyra. Both of them. I don't have reasons.
I don't understand why they did because like this whole story arc with him and like the gay dude and all of that didn't make sense to me. I don't understand why the gay guy was antagonizing him. I don't understand why he flew off the rails like that. Like I just didn't get it.
I think he was just trying to set the framework of how they're going to live their lives. Like I'm going to have his side piece, you're hers, and we both know our secrets, so that's how it's going to stay. And he was just trying to let him know how it was, and he's like, I'm not dealing with that shit. Just like he said, I'm not being a side piece to Rhaenyra. He's like, you know, he's there for his duty, but he's not up with all these games. He's not up for it.
Well, okay, but I understand that. Like, I get that part. I don't. Well, I guess maybe my why I'm a little standoffish on this scene is because like I don't like maybe what led into it. Like,
it subverted my expectations of his character.
Well, for certain. If the queen had mentioned to him that the princess slept with Daemon, we could have reached a point similar to this where Christian Cole, you know, goes through this sort of like, wait, that was the same night, blah, blah, blah. And we kind of have like, okay, they could develop this into a way that doesn't feel like, you know, they're tying themselves in and not trying to create these convoluted conspiracies. Xeno.
I know. I'm just like, all right. Whatever you say.
Okay, but I lost my train of thought.
You too, Xeno. He's one himself.
I lost my train of thought.
My apologies.
Thanks, Xeno.
No
God, we
worries.
were just getting to the good part. Ah, damn it. But yeah, I did want to add the scenes that y'all were referencing for context too. So yeah, I guess like if we're gonna like wrap up on this topic, I can go around the horn and then maybe Devin, you'll remember your thought. Max, closing thoughts on House of the Dragon.
Oh, I'm up for it. I'm a little bit antsy about this next episode just because I love the acting ability of both Rhaenyra and Allison. And, I don't want to... I have to be careful not to become what I criticize others do, judge people just by the trailer. I just wasn't feeling the older versions yet, but I have to see the context, see their acting ability, and see if I feel like it's the same character. And I am interested to see what happens in the character's future for sure. And I really, I'm also surprised how much Allison has, how much changed just in that episode and what she's going to be like in the future. I think she's the one look out for. Sir Kristen for sure. Yeah, I'm interested to see what's happening to all of them in the future.
Totally. And Hans, I know you haven't watched the show yet, but I will keep bothering you to see if you've
Where
started
are
the
the
show.
hobbits?
You mean the Harfoots and Gandalf? Oh, Zeno had
Yeah.
a good question. Explain why Gandalf is in Rings of Power, which I know is not a serious question, but feel free to entertain it however you see fit.
Imagine me giving him the finger. That's it.
Fair enough. Yeah, as far as we know, they're the stranger. They're not Gandalf. So
I have a theory, a new
Sure,
theory.
yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, given what was revealed or what was teased in that last episode, what is your speculation on who the stranger is?
I did
I thought-
some research.
yeah. Go
Sorry.
ahead. No, your answer is more interesting.
I did digging because there is a lot of history and a lot of lore, and I just can't keep it in my head. So I dove into the Blue Wizards more for a little bit, and it says that they are thought to have been in Middle Earth in 1600 of the Third Age, but it's written by Tolkien that it's possible that they arrived in Middle Earth much earlier, and that can be interpreted in any way you want. So it's possible they saw them. They're like, hey, we can add a blue wizard to the show because of that single line of much. They could have been much earlier. Means they could say this is much earlier. So I'm gonna take back what I've been saying, that they can't be a blue wizard, and it's possible now. I think it's a possibility.
Who was the first wizard to arrive? Was it Saruman?
Mm-mm. No, it was the two blue wizards who have
were the
weird
first?
names. Yeah,
Okay. Interesting.
That we've yet
and
to
they went
see.
south and east, which also south and east was the show taking place right now, more south side of Middle Earth. So maybe once he gets all his memories and he's like doing completely in control, he's like, hey, I have to go south, and there you go, blue is went south.
I wonder what if it is a blue wizard. I wonder what they plan on doing with it, because like the blue wizards weren't in the Lord of the Rings books, and like there was only thing that was written about them outside of what Tolkien may have written in a letter was that they possibly founded some cults somewhere.
Yeah, there's like nothing about them, which is actually like very good for this show, is that since there's nothing, they can use what they have to their great advantage.
Yes.
The only thing, I was talking to H-Bars, he said two blue wizards arrived together. But the show's taking liberties, so we'll see.
We have to get H-Sports for the finale. We have to do it.
Yes, I know. I feel bad because I keep making these shows on days that he is unfortunately working. I wish he was in the chat though. I remember name is Gandalf. No. I mean, if it is Gandalf, fine. But like, I'm not gonna go in thinking that it is.
Gandalf just can't remember his name. He did that twice now.
But yeah, I know it's getting late, so I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you to like the 20 plus people who tuned in to watch the show. Please be sure to subscribe to our lovely panel and follow them on social medias and stuff. Links in the description. But yeah, we'll go around the horn. I'll start with Devin. Let's hear it. Where can we find you at, and what are you going to be working on this coming week?
You can find me here on YouTube or twitch.tv/Olde Nerdcast. I just got a new graphics card, so I'm going to be testing out some new games probably this week. I just got one on Steam, Viking-based open world game that I'm going to be looking forward to playing. But if that turns out to suck, I'll probably just go back to Oblivion.
Oh, nice. So like, what graphics card did you upgrade to?
I got a RTX 3080.
Nice. Yes, I have that too. Awesome. Congrats. But yeah, let's see. Hans, thank you so much for joining us tonight once again. Yeah, I know you're going through the audiobooks for the Silmarillion and Lord of the Rings again, right?
Yes, I'm on the Two Towers now, and I'm loving it. Like these,
Yay.
I hate to say it, but these audiobooks, when I'm listening, I'm like, oh my God, I actually kind of am liking listen to this.
Oh, sorry. Is your mic going in and out, or are you just like pausing?
Sorry, my phone did something. Sorry, I didn't know if I would cut out.
No worries.
I'm enjoying the books, listening to these dramatized like audiobooks more than the movies right now. Which is very interesting to me. But part of it, I think, is the music because they use the music from the movies. It's very great.
That's awesome.
But I recommend it. I highly recommend anyone who's a fan of Lord of the Rings. Really, the first half of the Fellowship of the Ring is like they can make a horror movie out of it.
See, I have no context because I'm imagining the first opening scenes of Fellowship are just like so ethereal and like the Shire and stuff. And like, you know, it's.
I wonder if audiobook YouTubers are a thing. Like, there's a group that watch a bunch of.
I can send you guys the links that I've been listening to. You can check them out.
All right, cool.
Oh, and Vince, Devin said that he got a 3080 RTX, which is awesome. Yeah, I have the RTX NVIDIA 3080 as well. So.
Just a quick thing. I posted on Twitter earlier. One thing I was talking with my friend Justin about Rings of Power. He has a 9-year-old daughter, and he was watching it with her, and he was saying it's interesting because like she doesn't like the Lord of the Rings movies. I asked him why not, and he's like, "Oh, she said there's no women in it. There's no girls in it." And I was like, "Okay, interesting." Like, and I thought about it. I was like, "Yeah, you get Arwen, a little bit in the beginning, and then way later on you get Éowyn." And I was like, okay, I get point well made. And it really puts into perspective a lot of the woke bullshit that's going on.
Hey, representation matters, and
representation matters. And
it's so fun. Like, even people bash Birds of Prey, but my wife was so excited to go see that when it came. She had fun with it.
Yeah,
you know, and it's great.
I enjoyed it too. Birds of Prey. Yeah,
and then we talked about it with a bunch of ladies, and they had a great time. Bunch of Harley Quinn fans, me and some friends. That, you know, we kind of drifted apart. We don't talk as much as we used to, but we had a bunch of ladies. They love talking about Birds of Prey, and it's so much more exciting when you go see it with someone that's represented. It's a lot of
Oh, dang. Strange Marvel, you have the Hobbit on 4 set of cassette tapes from the 70s. I would love to know if that's been like digitized and available somewhere online, because I'm curious what the narrator sounds like. Zeno says, that's why I don't like Rings of Power. There's no men.
Elendil's in it.
Oh, yes, true. Yeah, Elendil.
My favorite character in the show.
He's a wonderful character. I like him a lot. Yes, he's very random. But yeah, okay, going around the horn, last but not least, Max Movies. I'm sure everyone knows where to find you, but where can we find you at, and what can we look forward to?
I just posted this. I unfortunately, I have to figure out how to change my channel name again. I did Play with Your Wii as a joke, and then I want to change it to Wii U Forever. I'm up to 119 subs, and I'm trying to grow that. So that's where I would actually appreciate some people going to check out first, because I'm trying to really build that up from the ground up.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I totally forgot to plug this channel, so I will add it to the description as well. So that is Play With Your Wii, y'all. That's Max's gaming channel. He posts lots of fun clips from his modded Wii U.
And me and Cyrus are on a journey. We're gonna probably try if we can, I'll try to reach out to them to see if we can do episode 3. We got completely sidetracked last episode. All we did is looked at the Wii U eShop for like 2 hours.
Yes, I was there. I was hanging out with y'all in the chat. That was great.
Yeah.
Cool. I just updated it to include your link there and under
thank
your main channel. But yeah, this has been a great discussion, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out. I know we went over time, but thank you for sticking it out with me and talking about all this content that we're consuming, digesting, dissecting, all this other stuff. But yeah, I'll go ahead and play the outro. Thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out as well. Zeno, Jonathan, Strange Marvel, Dat Dude Vince, thank you all so much. Second Street Marvel, Caden, Daniel Martin, PKL, Fourth 1000, thank you. Sean Christopher, y'all are great for hanging out in the chat too. Gibby Gilbertson over on Twitch, thank you too. And let's see, I'm just scrolling up to make sure I catch everyone that I'm able to from the chat. Goofyfoot, D. Reed, thank you so much for coming over, and Quentin Time Podcast. Yeah, lots of new faces. Thank you so much, and please be sure to check out the panel too. And Potion Sword Run, let's see, Mike, Shill Porter, and let's see, I think that is almost everyone. Oh, and Skaking Bacon Media, thank you, and Hayton Nate. Oh yeah, that's a lot of chats. Okay, cool. I think I caught everyone. Oh, and Anthony Cheeseman early on in this show as well. Thank you for hanging out the whole time, Fourth as well. Zeno too, and yeah, this has been awesome. Yeah, I'll go ahead and play the outro, and thank you everyone for watching. Have a great evening, and take care. Okay.